Hello there. Today we're going to cover some budget decks. It's been a while since I've done a Peasant deck video, and there's some really cool ones in the new set, as long as some updates to some old ones. So let's start with Major Vonreg. This, I think, is actually a really competitive deck that has the potential to win tournaments. Even store showdowns. I mean, this could make a run at PQs if you get favorable matchups. It's a super aggressive deck, right? So turn one, you're looking to play a space unit, preferably a couple space units if you can. But then turn two, you're going to play a pretty big space unit, right? So you're either going to play 7th Fleet Defender, which is pretty hard to remove. You're going to play Vonreg's Tie, or, worst case scenario, you're going to play a 4/3, a Lurking Tie Phantom, which can be a pain to deal with, or a 3/3 that exhausts an opponent's unit, right? On the next turn, you're going to deploy Vonreg, and you're going to have just a massive, massive ship, probably a couple ships. If your opponent starts ground, it's really difficult to beat this deck, right? Because whenever you're playing vehicles, Vonreg is pumping your other vehicles that are still in play. So it's just incredibly, incredibly fast. In all of these decks, by the way, there's no rares or legendaries. And obviously you could make some of them better by adding legendaries. So for example, a key card that would be in most Vonreg decks, if someone had it, would be Kylo's Tie Silencer. Goes in great here, but actually the power level isn't reduced all that much by not having that card. You can see we throw in some Mandalorian pilots. That's for a little bit of extra tempo to exhaust opponents' units, as well as just the +3 is great, right? It's like a surprise strike that adds a health and sticks around. You could run this with a 30-point base. I like Nabat Village just to help really figure out that you've got the turn 1, turn 2, and turn 3 plays that you want. And since it's such an aggro deck, the 3 health really doesn't matter all that much. I suppose there are rare leaders and rare bases in some of these decks, but they're pretty cheap to get a hold of. If you don't have them, feel free to message me. I probably have a couple extras that I can send out. All right, Boba Fett is super fun. I really enjoy this deck. The basic concept is that almost everything in here is an ambush unit or a sentinel unit, right? To take advantage of Boba Fett's ability. So when you look at something like the X-34 Landspeeder, right? It's a 2/3 with ambush. Well, when you have Boba Fett leader, it's basically a 3/3 ambush. And that is pretty hard to beat. So things like Blue Leader, right, with the ambush in either arena can basically be a 4/3 ambush in space or a 6/5 ambush on the ground. The deck is just super strong, right? Early in the game, it's going to be almost impossible for your opponent to establish a board. The key is going to be keeping units on board while denying your opponent's units such that you can close out the game, right? A lot of these decks you'll see don't have the biggest top end in the world. And partly that's because most of the good top end cards are legendaries or rares that are a little expensive. So if I was modifying this, I might bring in something like a home one or something that hits hard just to finish the game. U-wing reinforcements would certainly be great because you'd still get your ambush and your sentinel. But even just as it exists right now, this is a pretty fun deck. All right. The new Boba Fett is a lot of fun. And I'll be honest, it's more fun with rares and legendaries, right? If we have Devastator and Orbital Bombardment, this gets even stronger. But it's actually pretty competitive, even with just commons and uncommons. The ability to push a ton of damage and a ton of bonus damage, you know, from Boba Fett's ability is super strong. You can see in this deck, we're starting with 15 1-drops. The goal being, hopefully we can start a couple of those, and we're just flooding the board with damage early. The Fett's Fire Spray is in there for a bunch of indirect damage. The Guerrilla Soldiers are great to try to deny our opponent from getting early turn ones to stick. If they do that indirect damage to their base, then that Guerrilla Soldier basically hits for 5, right? And this really, really adds up to a lot of base damage that's tough to overcome. All right. Budget Gar Saxon, I think, is one of the closer decks to a standard deck without any of the rares or legendaries. I mean, again, there are a couple that can be useful, but this is another super strong, aggressive opening deck. If you can lead with Director Krennic, you know, there are a few sweet plays that follow that, where you can play like a Greedo and a Director Krennic turn 1, or you can, you know, turn 2 play a Zagarian Starhopper and a Crafty Smuggler, right? So that can help you pop out some extra units early. But in addition to that, because basically everything in the deck is shielded, there's a few things that are pilots, everything's hitting a little bit harder than normal. The Lurking TIE Phantoms aren't shielded, but we throw in a few options to pump them up, like the TIE Advanced or the Interceptor Ace, or even the Snapshot Reflexes. So, you know, if you get a Lurking TIE Phantom to stick on turn 2, and then you go to turn 3, you know, and hit it with the Snapshot Reflexes, it's going to hit for 6 and be incredibly difficult to remove. So this deck is fast. It's really pretty aggressive, and it's a bunch of fun to play. All right. I think the Grand Inquisitor budget deck got a decent amount better in this set. The Grand Inquisitor, you know, uses his ability to deal a couple damage to a unit with 3 or less power to ready it. So when you look at something like the Guerrilla Soldier that we talked about earlier, now it's even more potential damage coming in, right? So you do 3 indirect. If that goes on base, it readies and hits for 2 more. Then you can use the Grand Inquisitor to ready it again to hit for 2 more. It gets pretty silly. The Clone Cohort is fun in Grand Inquisitor because it doesn't actually boost your unit's power, right? It just gives it raid 2. So you can have a Clan Challengers that gets a Clone Cohort on it and ready it with Grand Inquisitor's ability and hit for 8. That's pretty sweet. It's worth noting that the War Juggernaut is in here as a one of. Theoretically, it could be readied by Grand Inquisitor's ability. Practically, that's probably not usually going to work, right? Because there's going to be damaged units out there. If you damage itself, that passive does turn on, and you can no longer use Grand Inquisitor's ability. But this is classic old fun with the Death Watch loyalists and stuff like that lets you really push out a bunch of damage early. And you know, when you're dealing with budget decks, a lot of times combo decks are going to work really well. Okay, Quinlan Tarkentown's pretty popular right now. This is basically just a budget version of it, so it is better with rares and legendaries, right? But you'll see that, you know, there's a few times where I kind of steer into establishing an early board presence, right? Quinlan Tarkentown lets you do that. You get an early lead, which is super, super helpful when you're looking at trying to pull off an upset, right? Red 5 can help you keep that lead. And late in the game, forced surrender is great, right? Without Ahsoka and without K2, we don't have as much of the hand hate in this version. But this version can still dish out a lot of damage, prevent your opponents, opening a couple of plays. There's also a decent chance in this deck that you can drop a couple, 1-drops to start. Leia is almost a 1-drop, right? Because she can come in and then ready a resource. So you could lead Leia, use Quinlan to ping a damage to their turn 1 play. Tarkin Town, their turn 1 play. You ready resource with Leia, and then you follow up with Soldier of the 501st or Greedo, right? So it's a tough board to deal with when potentially 5 damage is coming in, and you don't even have a unit on the field. And now we're following up with things like Red 5 or Ezra. Okay, Cad Bane is the same basic concept, right? So we're going to deny their turn 1 play because we're going to start with an underworld unit, and then they're basically just never going to catch up. Cad Bane comes out a little later. He hits a little harder, has a few more tricks with cards like Relentless Pursuit. This is a deck that I think most folks are fairly used to seeing. You can almost run this one as just yellow. The thing is, Tarkin Town just helps the deck out quite a bit. Okay, that's really all I wanted to talk through for today. If you are observant, you might have noticed that every single one of those decks was yellow or had yellow in it. I'm not particularly sure why that was. I guess Surprise Strike is really strong when you're on a budget. And just in the format, yellow is pretty strong right now. So there are plenty of other decks that you could use on a budget to try to compete. I really, really like that Vonreg one. If I, had only opened a couple packs or just, bummed a few extra commons and uncommons off a buddy, I would definitely take that Vonreg deck to a tournament. I think you'll have a lot of fun. And I think when you play K-turn to swing in for another 6 that your opponent didn't see coming, you'll really enjoy it. So I hope this was helpful. Feel free to post your own budget decks that you enjoy in the comments. And take care.